ThomasHD and Malibuca won the Placement Cup through their aggressive fighting, great hit games, and much more that we'll cover later in this video. But anyways, Malibuca and Thomas land at crusty crates and the loot around it. They quickly third-party a fight near them, and Thomas makes sure that he can isolate the solo quickly by jumping on his back, giving the opponent no time to react. Thomas and Malibuca then clean up the rest of the fight by timing some good shots and creating a really clean pinch. Malibuca and Thomas move into Slappy Shores and take a fight onto T-Chips and DKS. This is a great fight to take because DKS and T-Chips are very split because they're looting off spawn. This gives Malibuca an easy opportunity to get a huge amount of damage and eventually the elimination onto T-Chips. Meanwhile, Thomas is fighting DKS. Thomas sees that DKS is about to go for an edit, so Thomas is ready to pre-fire back at DKS before jumping back and away from the potential shot and placing a wall as extra protection. Instead of rushing through the wall to finish the fight quickly, Thomas decides to take the safe play and wrap around the wall, giving himself a right shoulder peek. Thomas then gets up onto DKS's wall as a distraction so that Malibuca can come in and clean up the fight. Malibuca and Thomas rotate towards the dead side of the second zone because they do not need Storm Surge from their early kills. While on the dead side, Chapix and Zandy get huge damage onto Malibuca and start to push him. Thomas pushes back at Chapix and Zandy and starts to fight Andy while Chapix fights Malibuca. Andy goes for an aggressive full piece onto Thomas, but Thomas perfectly times a shot onto Andy right in between Andy editing down and placing a wall in front of himself. This turns the pacing of the fight. Thomas immediately goes and starts to pressure Zandy, but makes a big mistake here. Thomas shouldn't have ran up against Zandy's wall, but instead should have stopped on the diagonal from Zandy's box. From here, Thomas should have started to pressure Zandy's wall so he couldn't heal or get a return shot onto Thomas. Thomas makes a good reaction to getting coned and hit hard by immediately flipping his ramp, identifying that he can create exit control on his right by placing a wall, editing it, and getting out of the box. While all of this is happening, Chapix stopped pressuring Malibuca to try and get over to Zandy. As soon as Malibuca sees Chapix heading towards Zandy and Thomas, Malibuca hammers up and hits a huge shot onto Chapix. Malibuca then hammers Chapix's walls and drops the hammer to instantly replace them with his own, where he quickly finishes off the kill. Malibuca and Thomas then start to pressure Zandy together, cleaning up this fight. Malibuca and Thomas then slowly work their way into the third zone, but get tagged up along the way. Malibuca doesn't really care though, because he has saved the Jelly Angler Augment until this point in the game. This allows Malibuca to quickly fish many jellyfish, which gets him right back up to 200 HP. Malibuca and Thomas hammer into the fourth zone and set themselves up in a good position, but their materials aren't perfect, and they go and fix this by setting up a perfect pre-edit play into Art Skill. Malibuca tarps in full metal over to Art Skill's box and creates a right shoulder peek for him and Thomas to peek from. From here, they spray the wall and place a single line tile on the right side to give Thomas and Malibuca the easiest way to kill Art Skill. As soon as Malibuca and Thomas get this kill, they both move to the left out of the way of any potential damage coming in return. Malibuca and Thomas get out of this fight untouched and use the mats from Art Skill to tarp into the close 50-50. When first moving starts moving, Thomas and Malibuca hammer through the zone and land on the low ground. Once on the front side low ground, Thomas and Malibuca instantly start to look for an aggressive pre-edit play but are unable to get the kill. This ends up putting them behind when second moving pulls, and so when Malibuca and Thomas hammer in second moving, Thomas ends up in a box with another player who he quickly kills. Thomas and Malibuca make a deep tarp into second moving. This allows them to instantly play the dead side of the third moving, which they play with a large tarp. This large tarp gives Thomas and Malibuca the ability to look for a lot of kills while being safe from inside their builds. Thomas is able to pick up 2 kills here and immediately closes up their tarps as soon as Naku and Dan open up towards Thomas. Thomas then takes over the tarps while Malibuca quickly loots. Thomas inefficiently tarps towards the front side of the zone and wastes a lot of time trying to make a wide tarp into the zone instead of getting front side. This allows Naku and Dan to cut off Thomas from having a clean low ground tarp. Thomas and Malibuca try to push Naku and Dan off the low ground with pre-edits but fail, and so Thomas and Malibuca give up the low ground and elevate themselves a lot up the right side of the zone. Malibuca shifts his focus towards height and realizes that height is only a solo. Malibuca and Thomas react to this by double hammering and going for chip shots while they are soaring through the air. Malibuca and Thomas are able to quickly take height where they are put in a 2v2 against Pink and Anas on the low ground. Thomas goes down early, losing an aim duel to Anas, but Malibuca is able to kill Pink in the zone and clean up Anas as he's coming out of the zone, winning this game with 15 eliminations. Malibuca and Thomas have shown that they are already dominant extremely early on playing together, but if you want to watch another team dominate the Placement Cup, go check out my video on screen.